coming up on the Lead Ministry Podcast.
And what you're not realizing is that you're going to shave off 20% of what you perceive as your productivity to be pouring into another person.
Now your host, Josh Denhart.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lead Ministry Podcast. Here we are in the month of December. Our year is moving right along. And as you know, our goal is to help you, the ministry leader, to prevent burnout and ultimately make sure your spouse doesn't resent the ministry, right? Those are simple goals, but they're hard to achieve. And so what we do is we create ridiculously practical resources to help you, the ministry leader, make the ministry easier. So that's good stuff. One of the things that we're doing for this particular month, we're having this core focus all around the idea of interns. And I know some of you might be like, I've never had an intern. That's okay. You can have an intern. And you're like, well, I don't even have it. I don't know if I have a budget for that. It can be a free internship. It's the possibilities are limitless. We just don't want you to just jettison the idea. We want to have you actually consider this. And of course, you might be like, why? Why in the month of December? I'm busier than a one-legged man in a kicking contest. Well, the reason why December is good is that all of these college kids or high school kids haven't made plans quite yet. It's not on their radar, so you need to get it on your radar. Well, I'm excited today. We have my friend, Miss Brittany Nelson. Good to see you, friend.
Hello. Glad to be here.
I'm always glad to talk to you. You and I are kind of cut from the same cloth, right? We are two obsessively organized people.
Yes, OCD.
OCD.
For sure.
Yes. My wife has told me over the years, she said, Josh, you can no longer say that it's OCD. That's a pejorative. You can't say that. So I say, I have the gift of administration. Am I right?
Yep. That's how I describe it too.
Yeah. And somebody said to me one time, well, how would you define the gift of administration? And what I've come up with is the gift of administration is like the grease that helps ease the gears of the church so that the gospel can go out in a far more frictionless way.
Oh, okay. I like that definition. I have my own. Can I share it?
Please.
Okay. So I always say that the gift of administration is like a trellis for your ministry vine. So it creates the framework and the structure that allows your ministry to grow and to thrive. Because without it, you can only get so far.
That is absolute. I like yours better.
Thanks.
I like yours better. It's the truth, though. And by the way, the gift of administration often isn't the upfront glory hound. It's usually the guts and the meat and the gears and the trellis that allow for other people to grow the fruit and allows other people to show their flower on the trellis, right?
For sure.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself because isn't it funny, right? We kind of end up contributing to the kingdom in a way that's in keeping with who we are. Sounds pretty straightforward, but tell us about who you are because you've created stuff just like I have.
Sure.
You have your own wonderful little trellis. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So I am a speaker. I'm an author. I'm a children's ministry trainer, but where I spend a majority of my time is running a website called Deeper KidMin. I tell people it's kind of like the teachers pay teachers or the digital Etsy, but for the children's ministry world. Mm-hmm. So it's all downloadable resources made for children's ministry leaders by children's ministry leaders.
Right. So these are things that they're tested, they're tried and true. And it's like, hey, this already worked in my area. How about I share it with the world? And you are the trellis by which other people can place all of their different resources to help serve the greater body. So again, we are kind of similar in that way. So very grateful. But we're talking today. This is, I don't know if I've actually shared with you, of course you heard the intro to the podcast, but I don't know if I've actually talked to you about this really new big strategy that we've been rolling out, right? So essentially, I've got 12 full-length courses through leadministry.com. And historically, we had the podcast doing its thing. We had a newsletter and it was cherry picking a couple of videos and we had some resources, but they were about this, but the podcast was about that. And somebody might be doing a course over here. So we kind of consolidate all of those. And we said, okay, for 1 month, like in the month of September, we did everything about retaining volunteers. And then we did everything about training volunteers. So the podcast, all of the podcast extras, all of the downloads, all of the newsletter, everything was really saturating the audience with and all the ministry leaders with one main topic. And so this month is all about interns. And so that's what we're talking about.
Ooh, fun.
Kind of fun, right? Well,
Yeah.
again, we're grateful that you're here. Brittany, you are a friend. You are a gifted leader. But let's jump in. Why? This is going to be the why and the how of interns. Now, what's fun is that you, young lady, have not only been an intern, you actually have had interns. So you're the perfect person to talk to you today.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a really fun topic that not a lot of people talk about very often or really kind of put a lot of thought into sometimes. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. So here's the deal. Why have interns? Talk to us about this.
Absolutely. So often I feel like when you go to these big ministry conferences, right, at least at some point, you're going to hear somebody say, you have to think about how your ministry will run after you leave, right? You have to think about the succession of your ministry and what that looks like. And I remember as a young leader thinking, well, that's great, but I'm going to be around for a long time. It's fine. Like I've got plenty of time to think about that, right? But I think interns are so valuable because they allow you, even when you're a young leader yourself, or you've been in ministry for 25 years, it allows you to build the kingdom of the future, build the next generation of ministry leaders, not just invest in ministry now. Because I think sometimes people think, oh, I need an intern because I don't have enough hours in the week. Nobody has enough hours in the week, right? Like we all need interns in some area of our lives. But if you get stuck in I need an intern to help me kind of just check off the tasks on my list, then you're going to miss the value of really investing in another wave, another generation of ministry leaders. Because we are going to get old one day. There will be a time when we have to step away from our ministries or, the way that we're leading.
Well, the interesting thing, the way that I have kind of phrased this is success in ministry isn't what you do. Success in ministry is what happens if you never came back.
That's good.
And the interesting thing is, here we are on a Monday in December. This is about the least chipper thought going. But you're either going to die in your ministry role or you're going to retire. You are never going to stay there for infinity. Somebody else is going to pick up after you. And by having an intern, the interesting thing is that not only are you kind of like blessing this, maybe a younger kid, maybe it's high school, college, or whatever, and you're blessing them with some experiences. But the funny thing is most people don't realize because you had to figure out how to pass on ministry abilities or traits or skills, you yourself get better because when you teach, you actually have to kind of know what you're talking about in order to parlay that to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a good thing. So it's not just about ministry now, it's about building ministries of the future. Now, the funny thing is that the way that we build ministries for the future is by having somebody help us do ministry now.
Yep.
And by enlisting them and giving them some jobs. So this is the why behind having an internship. And by the way, I think you said it well. It's not that we all of a sudden, we need more tasks to get done, so therefore we have an intern. No, a positive unintended consequence is that you're going to get a lot of stuff done. But if you start with the heart, that is the future, that's going to be better. Okay, where to find interns? Talk to us about this.
Absolutely. So I remember with me as an intern, I was a college student. That was the first time I really interned in a ministry. And so my summers, especially, actually all 4 summers in college, I interned with a church. And so I think college students is a great place to start. The intern that I had was actually a high school student in our ministry at our church who expressed interest in, hey, I love kids. I love the gospel. I might want to do children's ministry one day. And I said, great. Would you like to come intern with me so that you can see, what that's like and if you enjoy it? And so it was, just 8 to 10 hours a week with this high school student, but that was a great opportunity for her.
That's good.
So high school student, former students from your ministry, and then college students for sure.
You betcha. College towns, universities. And by the way, I know somebody might go, but wait, Josh and Brittany, I don't have a college in my town. Well, I bet you have a bunch of college kids that are coming home for the summer.
Yep.
And some of them have been former students in your ministry, and that is a big deal that you can plug in. Now, through the Lead Ministry kind of platform, there have been plenty of people upon my encouragement and their own volition, have decided to have key volunteers who have wanted to go deeper. And it's like they're a grown adult, but they actually become an intern so that they can take on deeper roles and see whether or not they might have a calling in their heart right now,
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. Well, where to find them? High school, former students, college kids coming back, or just any super, super duper volunteer that you might have. Now watch this. I love what you've said here, Brittany. Different roles for different seasons. Now, different people can fill roles for different seasons. Talk to us about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned my first experience as an intern was for 3 months over the summer. So mid-May to mid-August. Obviously a very intentional time. I volunteered or I interned in youth ministry rather than children's ministry at the time. And so it was, youth summers, all ministry summers are busy, right? But youth summers, there's typically a lot of travel. And so helping with both, being able to step into a busier season for the ministry that I served with. And so really being intentional, and then, when I was a children's pastor, being intentional with bringing on a summer intern as a college student to, help with some of the VBS and some of the summer camp, things like that. And then my high school student was a year-long intern. So she stayed with me from August to August of her senior year of high school. And we got to work together for that season. She got to experience some of the behind the scenes of ministry. She had been volunteering for a long time, but got to see what it really actually looks like. I took her to conferences with me, which I know we'll talk about training them later. But yes. So I think even if for, different seasons, different events throughout the year.
Okay.
If you can't do something year round, then.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. What ended up transpiring with that young lady?
Yeah. So now she decided not to go into vocational children's ministry, but she also has a really big heart for the medical field. And so she is working in children's hospitals, almost like, I think the last time I heard, almost like an events coordinator for the children's wing in a children's hospital, not an events coordinator, but she's working with families and kids in a children's hospital.
Now,
great place.
It's a great place. And she's got, let's say that you've heard of the SHAPE for ministry, right? Spiritual gifts, heart, ability, personality, experiences. Well, one of her E experiences is, I was a children's ministry intern and I learned a lot about how to pull off events. I mean, you have to have some level of pride and ownership that she is serving kids in a children's hospital, and that comes directly from you. That's so good. Yeah, so you can have a 12-week summer intern. You can, the interesting thing, you said that this young lady was 8 to 10 hours a week. So it was like after school stuff.
Yep.
That's huge.
We typically met once a week, and then during our meeting, we would do some of our training, but then I would also assign her responsibilities or things to be researching. And then she would do the rest of her hours kind of throughout the week. And then obviously a big chunk of that was on Sunday mornings or if a special event came along. And so, it was very minimal, but it was great. I loved having an intern.
And I bet it helped you. It helped her. And I bet you have a lifelong friend now with her.
Oh, for sure.
Isn't that fun? Well, here's another one. Maybe it's a specific event intern. Now, our church did this. We had a huge event called the Great Pumpkin Party. We had about 6,000 people come through the life of our church over 3 nights. Wow. The first night was dedicated to children and families with special needs. Now, prior to me taking it over, the outreach director would bring on an intern for 6 to 8 months, and they would come on at the very beginning of planning of this huge event, and then they kind of would just chunk away at this task, and then a couple weeks after the event to make sure that it all was followed through on. So whether it's a huge fall festival, or whether it's your big VBS, or whether it's somebody who's gonna be an intern with the church for all of the youth travel, and they're gonna be doing logistics. They're going to be parent meetings. That's their kind of puddle jump and their exact thing that they're going to do. I think this is huge. Now, I got to say, you just made me think. I had a number of interns, and one of the interns that I had, he's a business owner now, and he runs a very successful Christian counseling outfit in Colorado Springs, actually. And so he has a number of different people who are his employees, and they're a Christian counseling outfit. But there's no question, and I know for a fact because he's told me so, that some of the foundational leadership principles that we delved into, they absolutely shaped who he is and how he leads. And so it's exposure and experience. And by the way, Brittany, if I could have one of my kids sit under you, that'd be huge. And the reason why is because you're a good person with a good heart. Mm-hmm. And we all know, show me the 5 people that you spend a ton of time with and I'll predict your future. Mm-hmm. I like you in your future. And what I think that my kids could learn a ton and could easily benefit. And so it's not necessarily that they're learning how to use the 3-hole puncher. It's not necessarily that they're learning how to use the, children's ministry spreadsheet or, planning center. Who cares? It's really about the heart and about my personhood rubbing off on another. So I love that. It could be different roles. It could be different seasons. Now, this one here, make it valuable. You say they are not just grunt workers. Couldn't agree more. Yes.
I think this is one of my biggest pet peeves in this conversation about interns is that people think, oh, I just need somebody who's going to do all the setup for me so that I don't have to. Or I'm going to do somebody that's going to, print out all the name tags and do all the cutting and all that. Like, no. Like, there's so much that you are handicapping yourself as a leader, I think, and missing out on some of that training. But then also you're taking away so much of the value that they can learn if you just have them doing the tedious, mindless tasks. Mm-hmm. And so you have to look at your intern really as an investment, right? As someone that you are pouring a lot of time into, because sometimes it can take up more of your time to have an intern than to just do it by yourself, right?
I'm gonna jump in at this point. This is extremely important. This person will remain nameless, but I had a full-time employee, and I was listening to him, and he was almost to the point of ad nauseum. He was just chomping at my ear, and he would say, I need a full-time employee. I need somebody I need an associate. And so I kind of listened, and I was like, I don't think you do need one. And I went to the executive pastor. He was like, absolutely not. He needs to build up and grow volunteers. Okay. So I brought that back, kind of had a discussion. He did not like it. He was offended and he was miffed, and that's fine.
Sure.
And then I took the bold move, and I had an intern that I had the previous summer. His name was Jacob. And I said, hey, Jacob, here's the deal. You had an internship with me. I'm going to give you to this other guy, and you're going to do an internship with him. Okay, great. They're off. They're running. And this guy who was a little bit disgruntled about not having a full-time employee, he came into my office and he threw his arms out in exasperation. And he said, if Jacob comes to me one more time and asks me what he should be doing, I'm going to go crazy. And I was like, hey, go ahead and shut the door and sit down. Let's talk. And I said, hey, do you remember when you asked for a full-time employee and we said no to you? I said, I want to let you know this is the reason why we said no. We said no because guess what, buddy? You don't know how to run another person.
Right.
You thought that you were going to have like 100% of your time, and they were going to be 100% independent, and they were going to be doing 100% of their thing. And what you're not realizing is that you're going to shave off 20% of what you perceive as your productivity to be pouring into another person.
Yep.
Crazy. And then I went on to be so bold as to say, it is a skill, it is an art. And I want to let you know, I have 5 of you people. I have 5 full-time employees, and you're one of them. And so I reduce my productivity so that I can get others to be productive through me. It's the difference between being a Tasmanian devil and just spinning out like insanity and being go gadget arms and having really long arms and working through people. But this particular guy, as frustrating as that was, he didn't know how to use somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts?
Well,
it is a skill. Talk to us about that.
It is a skill. Yeah. So I think it is something that like you have to learn as a leader. And like when I brought her on, I think it helped that the internships that I was part of, the leader that poured into me was very intentional about, hey, this is what we're doing. Here's why we're doing it. And so I could see and say, oh, that's why he's asking me to do this, or that's why I've been tasked with this. Or, I felt comfortable going to him with questions of, hey, can you explain why this happened or why we did it this way? And he took the time to explain those things. And so that was modeled for me.
Bingo.
And so there was a little bit of a learning curve when I first started of, being intentional with training my intern and having those conversations. But it is a skill that as leaders, we have to practice and we have to develop in ourselves in order to pour into and invest in the interns that we have.
You're exactly right. And when we view it like that guy was viewing it as kind of a curmudgeon and like, he's bothering me. Really?
Right.
That's where we're at right now.
Intern then.
You didn't need, like, let me put your hand out. Let me slap your hand. And I'm going to take back that intern. He's coming back with me, which I should have done, but I didn't. But it is not just grunt work. And guess what else it isn't? Yeah. You are not the go to Starbucks for everybody. You're not just cutting out things and revving up your carpal tunnel and, you're sitting isolated in a room cutting all. Are you kidding me? How isolating is that? That's such a bad idea. We're wanting to give people experiences and duties about ministry. That's so good. Yeah. So we're super, super grateful. Next one, not just grunt workers, but we need to put in the time. This, we've already kind of been dialoguing about this, but it's training.
Sure.
It's we must train and we must teach. We must teach skills to people. Yep. Takes time.
Absolutely. And I think one of the simplest things is to read a book with them. Like I've done this with every single one of my interns. I kind of suggested 2 or 3 books and said, hey, I think all 3 of these will be really valuable. Which one do you want to read? And I picked one and we went from there, and it was just a chapter a week, like something really simple, something really, really easy that she could do on top of her high school homework.
Yeah.
But taking that time to read together, to learn together, and to even just give them a glimpse into how you process certain decisions or how you process certain leadership, aspects of your ministry. And so taking that time to like I said, and like it says here, to train them and to teach them beyond just, oh, here's your list of things that you need to do.
Right.
Let's learn together. Let's explore what this looks like.
For sure. Not to mention, let's say that you have some tasks, and tasks are fine. Listen, I got tasks. You got tasks. They can do tasks. By the way, I don't want to insulate them from thinking that ministry doesn't have these like grinded out kind of things, right? It's like we want to give you the full volume of things.
Yeah, full picture.
The full picture, which includes some grinded out tasks. However, my job is to be the dot connector. Here is the dot of you cutting out this and revving up your carpal tunnel. And here is the end product of some kid having an experience. We set the table for them to have an experience with God. And you doing this led to this. And we need to connect those dots. We can't allow their tasks to not have an end that is somehow connected to the kingdom and to other human beings.
Yeah. Well, and they need to see the why. They need to know why they're cutting out 100 handprints, or they need to know why they're decorating the hallway with black lights, right? Like they need to understand the why behind it and not just what they have to do.
Yes. And even let's say that it's a high school ministry thing and they're a high school ministry intern and they're coming up with a whole bunch of hangout, bizarre, silly questions for the 18-hour charter bus ride.
Yeah.
There is a reason behind this because we want to maximize every second of this youth group trip. And so this entire elongated list of silly questions that they're going to ask to the 4 people around them, we're starting this youth retreat right now.
Right.
And so they need to understand those things. So that's kind of fun. We got to train, we got to teach. But this next one here is really important. Leave better than they came. And so they should walk away with as much value in them, if not more, than you as the ministry leader or your ministry received. They need to walk away with value. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, it goes back to this whole idea of training them and investing in them and going beyond the grunt work, right? We want them to walk away with skills and experiences that they can carry into their next season or phase of life, whether or not they go into ministry. Like even if they get to the end of it and they decide, yeah, ministry's not for me, that's a win, right?
It is a win.
Now they know before they get into it that it's not for them and they can go a different route rather than getting into it and burning out in 2 years because it's not for them. And then they have a terrible experience and leave the church, right? Like there's so much value in them finding out that it's not for them. And so, but even beyond that, right? Like the skills that they can develop, the things that they get to learn, just the leadership. And you mentioned this already, the leadership aspects and skills that they get to see modeled before them and see played out in real life without with very minimal risk for them. You know what I mean? Like one of the great things about being an intern is that you get to kind of be part of some big decisions, but if it all falls apart, you're not responsible.
It's on
right?
them, not
like
me.
You just learn, right? You learn from someone else's mistakes, but you still get to be part of the process of making those decisions and seeing behind the scenes what goes into that part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that's really, really well stated. Another fun thing is I had another intern, and they did not go into full-time vocational ministry, but I can tell you this: they go to a local church. And they serve at a local church, and they have such a leg up on any of the other volunteers because they did 2 intense summers with us, and they understand about setup. They understand about tear down. They understand about how to interact appropriately, how to make sure you're looking out for guests, all of the things that we would want any volunteer to do. That kid is now that much sharper because he spent 2 years doing a deep dive, even though he's now a commercial pilot.
Yeah.
The kingdom is better as a result because they are leaving with more value than they are giving us. Hey, it is better to give than to receive. Well, this last thing that we need to talk about is the most painful. If I had a hockey puck and a hockey stick, I would send this one and it would hit a bunch of people through the podcast right against the noggin. Here it is. You must die to perfectionism. If you're going to be leading interns, you need to die to perfectionism. Can you talk to us about this?
Yes. And this one is so hard to do because especially if you've been in ministry for a few years or longer, you have the standards in mind and standards in place that you want to achieve. And you have to not lower them, but maybe let go of some of those standards as you're teaching someone else, right?
That's
because as they're learning and as your intern is trying new things and experimenting and gaining these skills, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to try some things that they fall flat on their face. But it's a safe environment for them to do that rather than, years down the road when they're in ministry and the stakes are huge.
Yes.
And so it's a great, great opportunity. Yeah. But it's hard. It's so hard to let go of control. I love how, who is it? Oh, it's the Growing Young and the Fuller Youth Institute. The way they kind of talk about this and language that they use is giving away the keys.
Yes.
And so you give away the keys to your ministry and not just like letting them in and behind the scenes, but like giving them ownership so that they can lock and unlock the doors, right? Whether it's literally or figuratively, but handing over the keys to the ministry to someone else, which means sometimes you might walk in and things are not done exactly the way you would do them, or you need to find a teaching moment to come in and, hey, you did a great job on this, but next time let's try it this way.
Yes.
And really helping them understand, like, because I think that's another thing a lot of leaders, a mistake leaders make with interns is an intern will do something wrong and the leader will just fix it, but not say anything to the intern.
Bad news.
And that's right. One, not good for you as a leader, because then you're fixing things all the time over and over again that you don't need to. But 2, it does nothing for the intern because they don't know that they've done something wrong and they don't know then how to fix it either.
Yes.
So if you can use those mistakes as a teaching moment, when you do let go of control, sometimes your intern is going to do it better than you could do it.
Okay, I was going to say that. I was going to say that there needs to be a level of flexibility for somebody else with their unique personality, their unique experiences to provide their very own 1-2 punch at this thing. So letting go of control and being okay with imperfection is important as you let them lead. Well, another thing that I think about, Brittany, is I taught high school chemistry at good old Valley High School in West Des Moines, Iowa. Yes, I do have a kind of nerd side to me where, yes, I do have a periodic table in my very own office. You can, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it right over my shoulder. I am a science nerd. But the interesting thing is, Valley High School was known, and the years that I was there, I think they win the state football tournament all the time. They're a big school and they're a dominant school. But one of their values as a football team is we play the freshmen. And so they would get ahead by 21 points. And rather than getting up to 48 points, they would begin to filter in less experienced players on the opposite side where the ball is going to go. So the ball's going to go around the right. They put a few freshmen on the left side. And so it's not as critical that they make the block, but they're actually getting out there and feeling the thrill of the field, and they're getting physical contact. It's not just X's and O's. Now it's a couple of bruises.
Right.
And so experiencing and letting the freshmen play. Now, Brittany, I'm going to be on. I got goosebumps on this one. Girl, you're a champ. And you have a lot of experiences. And guess what? I'm good at what I do. That's fine. That's okay for me to say that. And it's okay for me to call you out and say that you're good. But we weren't born good.
Right.
Somebody took a risk and put my sorry self in the game. And they cringed a little and were like, oh, there's a lot of potential there. But that wasn't perfect. And that's us. And so we need to let go and let somebody else have an opportunity to lead. Well, gang, we're grateful that you guys were here today. Thank you, Brittany.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, gang, this has been just yet another episode of the Lead Ministry Podcast. Hey, guess what? You need to start an internship program. It can be easy. It doesn't have to be complicated. By the way, the Lead Interns course literally has everything that you would need to download your job descriptions. I don't even want to get into it all. It's insane, but you need to go check out at leadministry.com. You can find leadministry.com/lead-interns. It is a full throttle program that within less than a week, you can have a full summer internship dialed in and ready for you. Gang, we're grateful that you're here, and we'll catch you on the next one.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Lead Ministry Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit leadvolunteers.com for more episodes and resources. Thanks for listening.